RxJs is not a part of Angular framework, but if you are preparing for an Angular interview, then the interview cannot be complete without being any question asked on RxJs. So in next 15 minutes, I will take you through the basics of RxJs. Thank you for visiting my channel, and if you find this video useful, then please help me to increase my subscriber. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn all about RxJS library interview questions with answers. Introduction of RxJS. RxJS stands for Reactive Extension for JavaScript. RxJS is a library for reactive programming using observables that makes it easier to compose asynchronous code. In Angular, it is extensively used to handle data streams from various sources such as user input HTTP request. Now next, what is the purpose of RxJS? The main purpose of RxJS is to handle asynchronous data stream easily. Now what is mean by asynchronous programming? Asynchronous programming means it is the concept that allows your code to run in a background without blocking the execution of other code. How to install RxJS? You can install RxJS by using command npm install RxJS. Now, what is observable and observer? I just want to explain observable and observer concept with this diagram. We have a database, service, and observer. Observer nothing but the component. We are having lots of data inside a database, and with the help of service, we can fetch the data from database. So what service can do? Service used to do HTTP GET call to the database, and database send the data to the service in the form of observable. So now service is holding all the data in the form of observable. So if observer wants the data which service is holding, then observer needs to subscribe to that service, then only service can send the data in the form of observable to that observer, or we can take the data from service with subscribe method. So this is how we usually work in Angular application. So now what is mean by observable? Observable is just a function that returns value over time when you subscribe. Observables are lazy because when we subscribe to the observable, then only observable will execute. Now, what is the use of observer? Use of observer is to subscribe and to listen the changes. Observable and observer are the RxJS object. That observable represents the asynchronous data stream, and observer is nothing but a function which will subscribe to that observable and listen to that data stream and receive the data stream. Next is, what is the use of subscribe and unsubscribe method? So subscribe method, it is a method that subscribe to an observable, means whenever the subscribe method is called, independent execution of observable happens. What is the use of unsubscribe method in RxJS? The biggest advantage of observable is that you can subscribe to the observable, and if you don't need data for some time, then you can happily unsubscribe to the observable. For that, you have to hold that subscribed method in one variable of type subscription, and you can directly unsubscribe that variable in on destroy lifecycle hook. It means we need to unsubscribe from our observables, because if we don't unsubscribe, they can continue to emit values even after the component is no longer present in the DOM. I will show you how to unsubscribe the observable with an example after the next slide. Next is difference between RxJS and promises. So now, what's the difference between RxJS and promises? These are the differences which we can see practically. So that, let's jump to the Visual Studio Code editor. I am inside Visual Studio Code to see the example of observable and promises. So for that, I have created one component with name RxJs example. Inside that, I have created one ng-onInit method, and I'm going to fetch some code for promise and observable. For promise, I have created one object of a promise class. Inside that, I have called one callback method. And in order to write something from promise, we need to add resolve method. And to listen that promise, we need to write the then method. Similarly, for the observable object, in order to use observable, we need to import it from RxJs first. In order to install RxJs, we can use the command ng install RxJs. And once you install RxJs, you can use anything related to RxJs. So I have imported observable from RxJs. And here inside observable, I have written one callback method. And if anything you want to return from observable, then you have to use next method. And to listen that observable, we need to use subscribe method. Why we need subscribe method is to listen the observable, we need to write the subscribe method. Okay, this is how I have created promise as well as the observable object. So now here promise is returning promise object call and observable is returning observable object call. Now I'm going to save these changes and I'm going on the browser. You can see inside developer tool, promise object call once and the observable object call one. So now we can see the actual difference of promise and observable. So the first difference is promise is eager, but observable is lazy. Why? Because I am going to comment these two lines. It means I have created promise as well as observable object, but nobody is using that object. At that case, what will happen? So I am going to write one console log here, promise running, and the same console log I am going to write inside observable as well. Observable. So now we can see if no one is listening to the promise as well as no one is subscribing to the observable, then how promise will work and how observable will work. Now I'm going to save the change and we can see on the browser is line number 17 and line number 26 is printed or not. So here you can see line number 17 is printed, but line number 26 is not printed. It means promises are called as soon as they initialized, but observable, they can't make a call until and unless someone has to subscribe that observable. So that is why line number 26 is not printing. So that is the case. If you want to execute the line number 26, you have to subscribe that observable first, then only this line will get print on the browser. Now I had uncommented this line number 31. Now we can see on the browser, you can see promise running, observable object call one is also running. That is why promises is eager and promises are eager and observables are lazy. Now the second difference is promises are unicast and observables are multicast. For that, I'm going to delete this console and I'm going to uncomment this call also, promise call. For that, I'm going to add few more resolve methods and few more next method. I have added 4 resolve and 4 next methods inside observable and promise. Now I want to save the changes and want to see the result, but I wanted to tell you result before go on the browser. So here why promises are unicast? Because promise can emit only one value at a time, but the observable can emit multiple value at a time. So here what output we can expect is promise will execute only this line and observable can execute all 4 lines. Let's save the changes and go to the browser. You can see the changes. Promise can call only one first line and the observable has executed all 4 lines. So this is the second difference of promise and observable is promises are unicast and observables are multicast. Now the third difference is we can cancel the observable, but we can't cancel the promises. We can see that with practical. So now I'm going to comment this promise and I want to work on the observable. So we have already seen the subscribe method, how subscribe method will work. Now we will see how unsubscribe method will work. So for that, for unsubscribe any subscription, we need to add that inside ng on destroy lifecycle hook. So the use of ng on destroy lifecycle hook is whenever you go to the another component, or once you navigate to the another component, then the previous component will get destroyed from the DOM and new component will get added into the DOM. That is whatever observables we are going to unsubscribe, that we need to add inside ng on destroy. In order to use ng on destroy method, we need to import it first and we need to implement that method on destroy. It will auto import on destroy method from Angular core. Okay, for unsubscribe that observable, I need to create one variable, one private variable I'm going to create here with type subscription. Private my sub of type subscription, and I'm going to assign that variable to that to this observable. Now I can unsubscribe that my sub variable inside ng on destroy dot unsubscribe. And to understand, I will write one console log here. On destroy fault. Say when you go to the browser, we can check. Okay, to understand clearly, I'll just comment these three observables. Okay, now you can see here I'm going to click to the home component. Once I click to the home component, ng on destroy hook will get called. You can see in the console, see on destroy called. It means this observable has unsubscribed from the DOM. So this is how we have seen the example of on destroy method or unsubscribe the observable, how we can unsubscribe the observable. That is why observable can be unsubscribed or can be cancelled, but promises cannot be cancelled. So just now we have seen the example of subscribe and unsubscribe methods, as well as we have seen practical example of RxJs and promises with the differences. Now next is concept of operator. So we can understand the concept of operator with the help of this diagram. So in this diagram, here is a data. It is nothing but a database, and this is the component. So this component wants to fetch the data from the database. So what data is present in this database? We will go with a simple example. The database is holding any random numbers from 1 to 100, and component wants data which is greater than 40, not all the data from 1 to 100. So in that case, if component subscribe to that database and this data send the this database send the data to the component in the form of observable, then component is holding all the data, not filtered data. So in that case, RxJs operators comes in a picture. So if you want to filter the data in the database, then we can use RxJs filter. The name is filter variable, filter operator. So what does filter operator is? In filter operator, we have to add the condition that like I want data which is greater than 40. So based on that condition, it will filter the data and it will again generate one filtered data in the form of observable. If anyone wants to do any other operation on this filter data, then they can do. Or if you don't want, then you can directly subscribe to this filter data and you will get the data like greater than 40. But if you want to do any like if you want to add some numbers into the filtered data, then you can do that operation with the help of map. Then map will again generate a filtered data in the form of observable, and then you can subscribe to that filtered data and you'll get that filtered data directly in your component. So with the help of RxJS operator, we can manipulate our data as per our requirement. Hope you understand the concept of operator. So this is the list of operators. I have listed down few operators, but you can go on RxJS site. There are many more operators are available. So as of now, I want to show you with practical example with these two operator like filter and map. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code again. Again, I jumped into the Visual Studio Code to see the example of RxJS operators. Observable behaves like an array, so we can use RxJS operators on the observable object to apply some operations on the data. So today we will see two important RxJS operators like filter and map. In order to use RxJS operator, we need to import it first from RxJS/operator. So this is the previous example which we have used to see the differences of promises and RxJS, like observable. So I'm going to continue in that code only. So I'm going to uncomment these 3 lines and the output will be these 4 lines will get printed. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now I want only observable object call instead of all 4 lines. So I want to filter the data and I want only one line in the result, not for all. So for that, I am going to use the filter operator in RxJS. So for filter operator, I need to give the condition inside that filter operator. So based on that condition, we will get a data. So before subscribe method, I'm going to add the pipe operator dot pipe, and inside that I am going to add filter operator. In order to use that filter, we need to import it from RxJS operator. This I have imported. Okay. Then we need to write fat arrow function response equals to what response we need? We need a response exactly same. So I am going to add the condition in the filter. I want the response which is pointing to this text like observable object call, so that it will filter in the whole data and throw the output. Okay, I'm just going to save this and we can see now we are getting only one line in the output instead of all 4 lines. This is the filter operator works. On top of this filter, I want to add map operator. So how we can add? We can add multiple operators inside pipe separated by comma. So I am going to add map operator. Map again. For that also we need to use fat arrow function. I want to add extra text to the output what I am getting from a filter. So the text is RxJS and I want to add before response. This map I need to import it. Yeah. So now I saved the changes and I'll go back to the browser. You can see I just give one space. See, now you can see the result is RxJS observable object call. So RxJS, we have added RxJS text before observable. So this is how we can manipulate the data with the help of RxJS operators. So I just gave you these two examples. So that is the example of RxJS operator like filter and map. Now again we jump to the PPT to see the next concept of RxJS. Before moving to subject and behavior subject, interviewer can ask you the question why and where we need RxJS in Angular. Then you can answer RxJS is used for HTTP calls. When you make a post or get call with HTTP, it returns an observable. And now we will talk on subject and behaviors. We will see the theory part of subject and behavior subject, and I will create a separate video on the same with an example soon. So what is RxJS subject? Subject is a special type of observable that acts as both observer and observable. It will allow to emit new value using next method. Using subject, we can share data between no relation component. And what is behavior subject? Behavior subject do the same, but also remember the last value shared, which is helpful in many situations. It means subject doesn't hold the initial value, whereas behavior subject holds one value. In the syntax itself, you can see in subject we can pass an empty bracket, and in behavior subject we have to pass an initial value. Now, when to use observable, when to use subject, and when to use behavior subject. First, when to use observable. A regular observable should be used when you only need one subscriber. And when to use subject, when you need multiple subscribers and care that all the subscribers are getting their new values simultaneously, you need a subject. And when to use behavior subject, when you need the last given value, then you have to use behavior subject. Yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you like this video and hope you understand the concept of RxJS library. If you find any useful information in this video, then please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye bye.